Today I'm going to talk about Jamiel's Law, Special Order 40, and immigration. I was recently on Which Way LA with Warren Olney and also one of the deputy chiefs, DS, I believe his name was, for the LAPD, as well as an activist for immigration rights. And we discussed the applicability of Special Order 40 and Jamiel's Law movement. Now, Jamiel's Law has basically boiled down to the rescinding of Special Order 40. Special Order 40 was issued in '79 by Daryl Gates. And basically the idea of this was that in order to get the immigrant community, illegal or otherwise, to cooperate with the Los Angeles Police Department, basically questions about your immigrant status would not be the first thing an officer asked you. We couldn't just, obviously immigration is a federal issue and the LAPD can help, but Special Order 40 made it so that the officers don't begin that investigation. Now, for example, if you are at a traffic stop and you roll through a light or you're suspected of DUI, that becomes probable cause for an officer to stop you because you're just violating a regular law. At that point, the officer can ask you if you are illegal immigrant or not, or for your papers, but not if he just sees you walking across the street minding your own business. He can't initiate those kinds of things. Special Order 40, if rescinded, would allow officers to initiate immigration kinds of things. Now, there's a couple of issues with this, and essentially Jamiel's Law is considered this. Now, most of you already know Jamiel Shaw was the young all-star football player from Los Angeles who was gunned down in cold blood by a Mexican national who had just been released from jail. He was a member of the 18th Street Gang, a well-known and long-established gang in Los Angeles. It's been around for at least 30 years. And some of the controversy has been that people said, well, technically, the Culver City police were the police that arrested him, and so Special Order 40 wouldn't apply. And this is kind of narrow-minded, of course, because we shouldn't be worried about the borders between Los Angeles Police Department and the Culver City Police Department, but the borders between our two countries. And obviously the 18th Street Gang travels across legislative borders and across international borders, where we have Mexican nationals as members of this Latino street gang, which is older than probably some of the police departments around here. Anyway, the spirit of Jamiel's Law is to go beyond one simple law, changing one simple rule of engagement for the LAPD. And the LAPD's don't ask, don't tell policy is controversial, but the real problem lies a little bit deeper within the system. Obviously, one of the quotes that Jamiel's father said was, how come nobody checked about his illegal alias status before they left him out on the street? Obviously, if you are convicted of a crime, of some crime, and you are going to be released into the jurisdiction of your conviction, LA if you convicted a crime in LA, or Culver City if you convicted a crime of Culver City, but you're not an American citizen, perhaps you should go back to the country you came from. Duh, who checks? Obviously nobody checks. That is not the problem of Special Order 40, but it is the issue that is attached to this movement to include a remembrance of Jamiel Shaw and prevent this kind of thing from occurring in the future. You should know that there are thousands of Mexican nationals in California jails, such that it's even changed the gang culture in jails. There's northern Mexican gangs, there's southern Mexican gangs, there's Mexican American gangs, and they're a large part of the problem, a large part of the prison population. So there's another angle that comes into this, and it's something called the 287G program. The 287G program is something that kind of deputizes local law enforcement so that they can, in cooperation with the Immigration Nationalization Service, or ICE as it's called now, under DHS, Department of Homeland Security, so they can leverage these many people. Obviously, immigration is a federal problem, but federals only have maybe 1,000 to 2,000 officers at the most, whereas local law enforcement, the police departments around the country, have hundreds of thousands of officers. So in order to get this problem on the ground, you need the wisdom and the street knowledge of those officers who are patrolling these neighborhoods where Mexican nationals and other illegal immigrants are living and working and sometimes committing crimes. So therefore, the 287G is the official coordination program. Now, there's going to be some bureaucratic finger pointing. The LAPD will say, well, we arrested him, but the judge didn't convict him. And then the judge can say, well, we convicted him and put him in jail, but where he wouldn't have been convicted or put in jail in Mexico. So I'm doing my job. And then we release them, and if they're released, if they're held for more than 48 hours before the INS can come get them to deport them, or if they don't show up on the INS list, then they get through the cracks. And this is one of the little places where this is called a civil rights issue, because if the INS, if ICE doesn't work quick enough with these other bureaucracies and somebody gets stuck in the middle, then you get all kinds of people talking about they're not getting their due process of law, and it's racial profiling, and all these other kinds of minute complaints. And so part of this problem is, of course, they're illegal here, and they have made it part of their life to get through things without having paperwork. So obviously sometimes they get through our criminal justice system without being known to be illegal aliens. And so that is one of the reasons that their rights get violated, because nobody knows who they are or where they belong. So obviously we're going to have to improve the internals of the system. We cannot allow these, especially the dangerous criminals, to come back out onto the streets. And this net has to be drawn tighter, and people have to stop pointing fingers. I hope the Shaw family gets adequate representation by someone who understands the legislative bureaucratic processes, that gets this all snarled up. Megan's law wasn't written in a day, and Jamiel's law won't be written in a day, and Jamiel Shaw Jr. would not be forgotten. This is Michael David Cobb Bowen for Cobb Vision.